everyone. Welcome back to the Family Beatdown Fantasy Football League update show, week number 2. What a great week we had. I'm going to state right up front here that I made my picks last week, and for the first time in history, me making picks, I went perfect. I went 6-0 this past weekend. I picked every game exactly right. I'm perfect. Let it be known. We'll keep track over the year and over the course of the year, and we'll see how I do, but I'm off to a perfect start. And in the way of a perfect start, smell this, started perfect. 164 to 147.8 over Gerard Invincibles. Gerard Invincibles had a really great day. Aaron Rodgers put up 50, even though the Pack struggled all day against San Francisco. Dad also got great performance out of Sean Green coming out of nowhere. And Brandon Marshall, his Chicago Bear, 22.9 to help power the Invincibles. I was powered by Robert Griffin III. He had the best debut game of any rookie, passing for over 300 yards. I got 53 out of him. I got 21 out of Kevin Smith. Nice pickup there, running back out of Detroit Lions. He was just sitting there on the waiver wire, people. These players are out there. And I got 27.8 from Julio Jones and David Akers. I happened to have his start, and his 63-yard field goal gave me 5 big points out of my kicker, 5 additional points for a total of 16. So smell this on top. Hey, one thing I want to point out this year, Yahoo has a new feature. When you look at the score summaries for the games, week 1, week 2, and so on, you look at your games, they show side by side, your team versus the other team. You can see how you did. Gives you the option to pick the game. Look under there now for a link called Recap. And you go to a page that's all dynamically generated, but it's an editorial page that really breaks down the game and shows you point by point how you did versus your opponent, what your strengths were, how you performed against projections. It's a really great feature. Yahoo, I think, really outdid themselves. Any rate, moving on. Mud Dogs got his championship defense off to a good start with a big win over Mama of 4 Boldens. Very decisive win, 150.9 to 114.5. Rick led by Drew Brees, Demaryius Thomas, Miles Austin, Reggie Wayne, and the Chicago defense, all with big double points. Phillip Rivers for Veronica. She got 0 out of Ruben Randall, but that's her New York Giant. So I guess she was required by law to have a Giant on her lineup, and he gave you goose egg. You might want to check that one, V. But 20.9 from Stephen Hill, LaShawn McCoy, an Eagle, 16.6, and Philip Tanner, a goose egg. So Veronica's got issues on her team, on her lineup. She needs to get real and get rid of Ruben Randall. But Rick goes into the W column with the opening week win. In her debut game in fantasy football, Rebecca, show me them TDs, scores the win over the Rednecks. And the Rednecks are traditionally a tough team, but had a tough day on Sunday. 37.7 out of Cam, 11.5 out of Reggie Bush, 11.3 out of Nate Washington, but not much else for Dawn, the birthday girl Dawn. Happy birthday, Dawn. Rebecca, on the other hand, outperformed expectations, even though little brother Eli only put up 27.3. She got 18 out of Forte, 15.3 out of Ahmad Bradshaw, 12.4 out of Aaron Hernandez. But the big points came from Pierre Garçon and her New England defense. So good move. Rebecca off to a good start. Decepticons thumped. I like that word. Thumped. The Invincible, or the blue and gold, 144.3 to 112. Jed was led by Tom Brady, 35.7, Andre Johnson, 22.9, and then big points out of Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, Tony Gonzalez, and Michael Bush. On the losing side, Peyton Manning had a good comeback. It was great to see him perform. In my humble opinion, it looked like he didn't miss a beat after sitting out all of last year. But good production out of a tight end, and Vernon Davis and Ginny Graham, and Jake employing the 2 tight end strategy this year. That's usually a formula for disaster, but those 2 players combined gave Jake almost 26 points, so lucky you. At any rate, Jake goes down to a humiliating defeat to the Decepticons. Looking at probably our highest scoring game, or our second highest scoring game of the weekend, Bears 6 off to a good start over the B-Hole Wreckers, 156.8 to 136.6, a 20-point win for Michael. Michael was led by Romo with 52.9. CJ Spiller, who took over for the injured Fred Jackson, got him in my other league, and I'm scrambling for a number one back now because he's out for 4 weeks now. But CJ Spiller is going to be getting the reps. 28.4, he makes the most of it. DeMarco Murray, 19 and 21 out of his Houston defense. On the B-Hole side, Matty Ice threw for 56.4. Jeremy Macklin, 15.6 and 12 out of Gronkowski, and 19.5 out of Arian Foster to power the Wreckers of the B-Hole. And our game of the week saw Blood, Sweat, and Beer off to a perfect fantasy start. Dawn wins her first fantasy football game, taking on Tyson. The outcome was 44-point difference, 166.7 to 122.7 in favor of Blood, Sweat, and Beer. Stafford, 40.8, 11.8 from McFadden. Rough night for those Oakland Raiders. Man, did they suck. Frank Gore, 22.3 and 26 from Stevan Ridley. Good pickup there. I might want to look around my other fantasy league. Note to self, Stevan Ridley, New England. Mighty Mullets, 43.9 out of Vic, 21 out of Ray Rice, who looked solid Monday night, and 24 out of the Baltimore defense. So there you have it. In our USC Notre Dame update, both teams win. Both teams moves to 2-0. Notre Dame took on Purdue and prevailed. They take on, and give me a second here to use the Google on the Notre Dame to give you their schedule. But the Fighting Irish, on the other hand, they won. They beat Syracuse. It wasn't pretty. They struggled, but they moved to 2-0. Now, the sad part about USC is the strength of schedule. And you guys heard me say that out in Illinois in August, that if anything is going to knock the Trojans this year, it's going to be strength of schedule. They've won both their games. They beat Hawaii, woo-hoo, and then they beat Syracuse, woo-hoo, and then they've moved from the number 1 ranking to the number 3 ranking by 2 wins. So, you know, the polls are not liking that USC schedule, and it's not helping me out one iota. So now we're talking. You guys got the Michigan State Spartans this weekend, Notre Dame. So good luck with that. And USC travels up to the farm, as they like to call it, and they take on Stanford. All right. Oh, one other thing to point out: Thursday night games start this week. We got Thursday night games throughout the entire year this year. I don't like Thursday night games. They throw off my must-see TV. Plus, Time Warner Cable doesn't carry NFL Network, so I miss all the Thursday night games. And this Thursday night game is my beloved Green Bay Packers, who are off to a terrible start this past weekend against the Niners. But it's the renewal, like the 195th renewal of the oldest rivalry in sports, or certainly the oldest rivalry in the NFL, but one of the oldest rivalries in sports, the Green Bay Packers versus the Chicago Bears. And that'll be on Thursday night. So if you got a Bear or a Packer on your lineup and you want to get credit for the game, what you need to do is you need to get your lineup set before Thursday. All right, looking at next week. Smell this. We'll take on the Rednecks. The Rednecks are hungry for a win after dropping it in week 1. The stats say 135 to 111 in my favor. Now, looking at the lineups, Cam Newton takes on New Orleans. That's a tough defense. Reggie Bush in Oakland. Reggie will probably score 600 points this weekend, Don. Evan Royster, he's highly rated, but I didn't perform too well. You got Jermaine Grisham, who has a matchup against Cleveland, which I think is a favorable matchup for you. RG3 will go into St. Louis, into the Edward Jones Dome, and show those Rams what for, and is expected to do 31. I think he'll do much better. Calvin Johnson is against San Francisco. He's projected at 20, but San Francisco's tough, so Calvin's going to get his ass whooped. AJ Green needs to redeem himself, and Chris Johnson needs to get on it. All of that said, I'm still going to go with Smell This because I think I'm just that good. Looking at our next game, Mud Dogs and Mighty Mullets. This is our champion, our defending champion, Rick, taking on Tyson. And on paper, it's a 122-106 projected win for Rick. Drew Brees takes on Carolina. That should be a good day for him. Wes Welker out in the home against the Cardinals. Demaryius Thomas against the ATL team. And then Kobe Fleener getting the start. I love Fleener. Michael Vick takes on Baltimore for the Mighty Mullets. Des Bryant against Seattle. Ray Rice against Philly. Oh, Baltimore and Philly. You got a head-to-head matchup there, Tyson. That should be a great game. Those two teams are not that far apart, and their fans don't necessarily like each other. I'm going to start rooting against our defending champion, and I'm going to give the pick to the Mighty Mullets because it's time to start undermining Rick's confidence and starting eroding his championship repeat capabilities. Looking at the Girard Invincibles versus Bears 6, it's a 120 to 126 projected win for Michael. Aaron Rodgers against Chicago, Brandon Marshall against Green Bay. That's a good matchup for Grandpa. He'll be watching that game on Thursday night. Brandon Lloyd against Arizona. That's a good matchup. But Jamal Charles needs to get going. But Sean Green is going to take on Pittsburgh. Ooh, that's tough. Tony Romo from Michael takes on Seattle. Larry Fitzgerald in New England. CJ Spiller goes against Kansas City. Fred Jackson. You need to get Fred Jackson out of your lineup, Michael, or not. But you got the 1-2 punch. You got Fred Jackson and C.J. Spiller in there. Usually you pick just one of the running backs from a team, but you certainly don't put the one in there that's going to be out for 4 weeks. Get rid of Fred Jackson. Move him out. I think Michael will cover nonetheless. I'm going to give the pick to Michael. Blue and gold, blood, sweat, and beer. This is Jake versus Danny. On paper, 130 to 123, a projected game. Jake's got an empty spot in what looks to be his second running back. Maybe that's his I'm going to fight you with one hand tied behind my back strategy. But Peyton against Atlanta, Deshaun Jackson against Baltimore, should be tough defense. Steven Jackson against Washington for the blue and gold. Blood, sweat, and beer, Stafford against San Francisco. Even though it's a tough matchup, I think Stafford will do well. And then Gore against Detroit defense, which I think is porous. And then Stevan Ridley, my new favorite guy, is playing against Arizona. Danny's going to move to 2-0 in my humble opinion. Looking at Show Me Them TDs versus B-Hole. This is Rebecca versus Alex. Nice update there, Rebecca. First year dominance, bitches. Yeah, way to go, Rebecca. Throw it out there. Smack it. Spit that smack. Eli against Tampa Bay. Eli needs to prove himself because I got him on my other team. Eric Dicker is a good pick. Forte is a good pick. Bradshaw is a good pick. On the B-hole side, Matty Ice taking on Denver, but it's in Atlanta, so that shouldn't matter so much. Roy Helu, nice pick there, Al. Way to just cover him with a warm body. Arian Foster, though, against Jacksonville. And it looks to be a 132-118 projected win. I'm going to stay with the momentum and go with Rebecca on this one. And in our game of the week, the Mama of Four Boldens take on the Decepticons. On paper, it's a 141-99 win in favor of the Decepticons. Veronica, you got some work to do. As we talked about before, Ruben Randall is not a real football player. You also need to get Philip Tanner out of there. I don't know who your bench is. Let's see who you got, girl. Well, you got Josh Baker. He's on injured reserve. You can clear that spot. David Wilson, Ingram. Ooh, you need to go shopping, I think, for running backs, girl. Decepticons, Tom Brady against Arizona, Marshawn Lynch against Dallas, who went beastly on Sunday. And Jed with Tim Tebow on his bench. We ought to start the chance for Tebow should Brady stub his toe. At any rate, I'm going to go right now, the way it sits right now, unless Veronica does some serious wheeling and dealing on the running backs. I don't think there's a lot out there. I'm going to go with the Decepticons in the week. So, everybody, that's my picks for this week. Have a great week. Remember, Thursday night games start this week, and we have them every week throughout the year. So get your picks in. Get your lineup set accordingly. Have a good week, everyone, and we'll see you next week. So long.